I was standing at my husband's grave when my phone buzzed with a message from a dead man. The text was from Robert's number, the same phone they'd pulled from the wreckage 3 days earlier, crushed and supposedly destroyed. But there it was, glowing on my screen. I'm alive. Trust no one. In that moment, everything I thought I knew about my husband's death, about my family, about my entire life, shattered like glass. Before I begin my story, let me know in the comments where you are listening from and what time it is. I just want to know I'm not alone in this. And if you feel moved by what you hear, consider subscribing. It helps more people become aware of the reality of elder abuse. Now let me tell you what really happened. My name is Margaret Chen, but everyone calls me Maggie. I'm 67 years old, and until 3 days before that funeral, I thought I had a good life. Not perfect, mind you, but good. Robert and I had been married for 42 years. 42 years of morning coffee together, of finishing each other's sentences, of knowing what the other was thinking with just a glance. He died on a Tuesday. They said it was an accident. His car went off Canyon Ridge Road during a rainstorm, tumbled down the embankment, and wrapped itself around an oak tree. The police officer who came to my door that night, a young woman with kind eyes, told me he died instantly. She said it like it was supposed to be a comfort. It wasn't. The funeral was exactly what you'd expect. Black clothes, hushed voices, casseroles from neighbors we barely knew. Our son David flew in from Seattle with his wife and kids. Our daughter Lisa, who only lived 20 minutes away, had been at the house constantly since Robert died, organizing everything. She'd always been the charge type, especially when it came to family matters. "Mom, you don't need to worry about anything," Lisa kept saying, squeezing my hand with her perfectly manicured fingers. "Marcus and I will handle everything. You just focus on getting through today." Marcus was her husband, a slick, talking real estate developer who smiled too much and looked at his phone during the eulogy. I'd never warmed to him, but Robert had always said, "If Lisa loves him, we love him." That was Robert. Always trying to keep the peace. The service was at Riverside Memorial, the same place where we'd buried Robert's parents 15 years earlier. Pastor Williams, who'd known us since David was baptized, spoke about Robert's kindness, his dedication to family, his 35 years as an engineer at Morrison Industries. It was all true, but the words felt hollow. How do you summarize a man's entire life in 20 minutes? I sat in the front pew between my children. David held my left hand. His grip was firm, steady, just like his father's used to be. He'd been crying. I could see his eyes were red and swollen. On my right, Lisa sat ramrod straight, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue, though I never actually saw tears. But grief is different for everyone, I told myself. Maybe she was in shock. After the service, we gathered at the gravesite. It was a gray October morning, the kind where the sky looks like it's pressing down on you. The leaves were turning brown and gold, and there was a chill in the air that made me pull my coat tighter. I watched as they lowered Robert's casket into the ground, and I felt something inside me break in a way I knew would never heal. People filed past, offering condolences. Robert's brother James, now the last of his siblings, my sister Patricia, who'd driven up from Phoenix. Colleagues from Morrison Industries, including Bill Henderson, who'd worked alongside Robert for 28 years and could barely speak through his tears. Neighbors, friends. Faces blurred together. And then it happened. My phone buzzed in my coat pocket. I almost ignored it. Who checks their phone at a funeral? But it buzzed again, insistent. Lisa was greeting mourners, playing the devoted daughter, while David stood beside me, his arm around my shoulders. I discreetly pulled out my phone. The screen showed a text message notification. From Robert Chen. My heart stopped. My hands started shaking so badly I nearly dropped the phone. I looked at the screen again, certain I'd misread it. But no, there it was. Robert's name, Robert's number. The same number I'd been calling obsessively for 3 days, just to hear his voicemail greeting one more time. I opened the message. Trust no one. Below the text was an attachment, a photo of a business card for First National Bank, with a handwritten number 847392. And below that, GPS coordinates. I must have made a sound, a gasp, a whimper, something, because David immediately turned to me. "Mom, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I stared at my son. His father's eyes looked back at me, filled with concern. Could I trust him? Trust no one, the text said. But this was David. Might the boy I'd raised, who'd held my hand through this nightmare. It's all too much, I said, which wasn't a lie. I slipped the phone back into my pocket, my mind racing. Lisa appeared at my other elbow. "Mom, people are starting to head to the community center for the reception. We should go." I nodded numbly and let my children guide me to the car. But my mind was spinning in circles. Robert's phone had been destroyed in the crash. The police had shown me the evidence bag, crushed, water, damaged rectangle of metal, and glass that barely resembled a phone. How could it have sent a text? Unless Robert had set up a delayed message somehow. He was good with technology, always had been. Even in his 60s, he'd been the one teaching me how to use smartphone features I didn't even know existed. Could he have scheduled something to send automatically after his death? But why? And what did it mean? Trust no one. The reception was a blur. I moved through it like a ghost myself, accepting hugs and condolences while my hand kept drifting to my pocket, feeling the shape of my phone through the fabric. The message burned in my mind. The coordinates. The account number. Mrs. Chen, I'm so sorry for your loss. Your husband was a wonderful man. If there's anything we can do. I smiled. I nodded. I thanked them. And all the while, I watched my daughter. Lisa moved through the crowd with practiced ease, thanking people for coming, accepting their sympathy with just the right amount of grace and grief. She'd always been good at performing. When she was younger, I'd thought it was just teenage drama. But as she got older, I'd started to notice something else. A calculation behind her eyes, a way of measuring people's reactions and adjusting her own behavior accordingly. Robert had seen it too. About 6 months ago, he'd mentioned something that had been bothering him. Lisa's been asking a lot of questions about our finances, he'd said one evening over dinner. About the house, our retirement accounts, life insurance. She says she's just trying to help us plan, but what? I'd asked. He'd shaken his head. Probably nothing. I'm just being paranoid in my old age. But what if it hadn't been paranoia? What if Robert had discovered something? What if that was why he'd set up that message? Trust no one. I looked around the community center. David was talking to his Uncle James, their heads bent together, both of them red-eyed. Marcus stood near the door, typing on his phone, barely engaging with anyone. Lisa's best friend Jennifer was arranging the food table, her loyalty to my daughter absolute. Who could I trust? The reception finally ended around 3 o'clock. Lisa insisted on driving me home. David can take Mom home, she said, waving off her brother. You have an early flight tomorrow. Spend time with your kids. She turned to me with that smile that never quite reached her eyes. Besides, Mom and I need some girl time. Right, Mom? What could I say? I nodded and got into Lisa's Mercedes. On the drive home, she talked about logistics. We need to go through Dad's papers soon, she said. Get the will sorted out, transfer accounts, all that administrative stuff. I know it's the last thing you want to think about, but the sooner we deal with it, the sooner you can focus on healing. There's no rush, I said quietly. Actually, there kind of is. Some of these things have time limits. And honestly, Mom, you shouldn't have to deal with it alone. That's what family is for. I watched the familiar streets pass by my window. We'd lived in this neighborhood for 35 years. I knew every corner, every house. But suddenly, everything felt foreign and dangerous. Lisa, I said slowly, did your father ever talk to you about his finances? Recently, I mean. There was the briefest pause before she answered. Not really. Why? No reason. Just wondering. She pulled into my driveway and turned off the engine. Do you want me to come in? I can make you some tea, help you settle. No, honey. I think I need to be alone for a while. She looked at me for a long moment, and I couldn't read her expression. Okay, but call me if you need anything. Anything at all. I'm here for you, Mom. I got out of the car and walked to my front door. I could feel her watching me until I got inside. Only when I heard her car pull away did I finally breathe. The house was too quiet. Everywhere I looked, I saw Robert. His reading glasses on the end table. His jacket still hanging by the door. The coffee mug he'd used the morning he died, still sitting in the sink because I couldn't bring myself to wash it. I pulled out my phone with trembling hands and looked at the message again. The coordinates. I opened my Maps app and entered them. The location popped up: First National Bank, downtown branch. The account number, 847392. Robert had left me a breadcrumb trail. But to what? I knew I should rest. I knew I should grieve like a normal widow. But that text message had changed everything. My husband had sent me a message from beyond the grave, warning me to trust no one. And somewhere in that bank was the reason why. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed. Our bed, though now it felt vast and empty, staring at the ceiling and thinking about that message. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Robert's face. Not the peaceful, made-up version from the funeral, but Robert as he'd been in those last few weeks. Distracted, worried. Always on his phone or computer, closing windows quickly when I walked into the room. I'd thought he was planning a surprise for our anniversary, which was coming up in December. 43 years, we'd talked about taking a cruise, maybe to Alaska. He'd been so secretive about it that I'd teased him. If you're planning something, just tell me, I'd said. You know I hate surprises. He'd kissed my forehead. Some surprises are worth it, Maggie. Trust me. And now trust no one. At 6 in the morning, I gave up on sleep and made coffee. My hands were steadier than I expected as I measured out the grounds. Maybe I was in shock, maybe I was running on adrenaline. Or maybe after 42 years of marriage, I knew my husband well enough to know that if he'd left me a message like that, he'd had a damn good reason. First National Bank opened at 9. I had 3 hours to decide what to do. I could call David. He was logical, trustworthy, and he'd always been close to his father. But he was flying back to Seattle this morning. And what would I even tell him? That his father had sent a text message from beyond the grave. I could call the police. But and say what? That I'd received a suspicious text. They'd think I was a grief-stricken old woman imagining things. And if Robert had wanted the police involved, he would have gone to them himself. No. Whatever this was, Robert had wanted me to handle it. Alone. At 8:30, I got dressed. Not the black funeral clothes, but my regular outfit, slacks, a blouse, a cardigan. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror. Gray hair that I'd stopped coloring years ago. Lines around my eyes and mouth, earned through decades of smiling. I looked like exactly what I was, a 67-year-old retired accountant who should be spending her days gardening and playing with grandchildren. But my eyes were sharp, alert. Robert used to joke that I could spot a discrepancy in a spreadsheet from across the room. "You've got an accountant's brain, Maggie," he'd say. "Nothing gets past you." I hoped he was right. I drove to the bank in my Honda Civic, the same car I'd been driving for 8 years. Robert had always said I should get something newer, safer. But I liked this car. It was reliable, predictable, unlike everything else in my life right now. First National Bank was a stately building in the historic downtown district, all granite columns and brass fixtures. I'd banked there for years, but I'd never rented a safety deposit box. Robert and I had always kept our important documents in the fireproof safe at home. Or so I'd thought. Inside, the bank had that peculiar hush that financial institutions always seem to have. My shoes clicked on the marble floor as I approached the customer service desk. A young woman with a bright smile looked up. "Good morning, how can I help you?" "I need to access a safety deposit box," I said. "Number 847392. She typed into her computer, her smile faltering slightly. "I see, and your name?" Margaret Chen." More typing. Then her eyebrows rose. "Mrs. Chen, I'm gonna need to get the manager. Just one moment, please." She disappeared into a back office, leaving me standing there with my heart pounding. What was wrong? Had I gotten the number wrong? Had someone already accessed the box? A man in his 50s emerged, his expression professionally concerned. "Mrs. Chen, I'm Frank Morrison, branch manager. I was very sorry to hear about your husband's passing. Please come with me." He led me to a private office and closed the door. "Mrs. Chen, I need to verify some information. Can I see your ID, please?" I handed over my driver's license. He examined it carefully, then pulled up something on his computer. "Thank you. Now I have to ask, how did you learn about this safety deposit box?" "According to our records, your husband rented it 6 months ago under his name only. You're listed as the beneficiary in case of his death, but the box was flagged with special instructions." "Special instructions?" He nodded slowly. "Yes, Chen left explicit directions that if anyone inquired about this box before his death, including you, we were to deny its existence. However, in the event of his passing, you were to be given full access." He was very specific about the conditions. 6 months ago. That was when Robert had started acting strange. When he'd mentioned Lisa asking about their finances. "I received a message," I said carefully. "From my husband. With this box number." Frank Morrison's expression softened. "I see. He mentioned he might arrange something like that. He was very thorough." He stood up. "Please, come with me. I'll take you to the vault." The safety deposit box room was in the basement, behind a massive circular vault door that looked like something from a movie. Morrison used 2 keys, his and one from a locked drawer, to open the door. Inside was a small, quiet room lined with numbered boxes. "Box 847392 is a large one," he said, leading me to the far wall. "One of our biggest, actually." He used his master key in one lock, then handed me a small envelope. "Your husband left this key for you. I'll give you privacy. Take as long as you need. Just press the button by the door when you're finished." He left, and I was alone. My hands shook as I opened the envelope. Inside was a brass key and a folded piece of paper. I recognized Robert's handwriting immediately. "Maggie, if you're reading this, then I was right to be worried, and I'm so sorry. I hoped I was being paranoid. I prayed I'd live long enough to tell you all this in person, and we'd laugh about what a suspicious old fool I'd become. But if you're here, then something happened to me. And if something happened to me, it wasn't an accident. Everything you need to know is in this box. Documents, recordings, evidence. I've spent 6 months investigating, and what I found broke my heart. But you need to know the truth. Be careful, my love. Trust no one until you've read everything. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you in person. But I can protect you with the truth. Forever yours, Robert." I had to sit down. The small bench along the wall caught me as my knees buckled. Robert had known. He'd known something was wrong. He'd known he might die. And he'd been right. With trembling fingers I inserted the key into the lock and turned it. The box slid out, heavy and solid. I carried it to the table in the center of the room and opened the lid. Inside was a carefully organized collection of folders, each one labeled in Robert's precise handwriting. On top was a large manila envelope marked Arstkari. I opened it. Inside was a letter, several pages, typed and single-spaced. I recognized the format immediately. Robert had always been methodical, and this was laid out like one of his engineering reports. Maggie, I don't know how to write this except to just say it. Our daughter Lisa has been stealing from us for 3 years. And it's so much worse than just theft. My vision blurred. I had to read the sentence 3 times before it sank in. I know how this sounds. I know you won't want to believe it. I didn't want to believe it either. But I have proof. Everything is documented in the folders marked 1 through 8. It started small. Lisa asked to borrow money for Marcus's business venture. Do you remember? 2 years ago, that investment opportunity that needed a $15,000. We gave it to her as a gift for their anniversary. She promised they'd pay it back, but they never did. I did remember. Lisa had been so grateful, so affectionate. She'd called me her angel mother. Then there were other requests, always with good reasons. Medical bills, car repairs, Marcus's business expansion. Each time, she promised to repay us. Each time she didn't. By my calculations, we've given her nearly $80,000 over 3 years. $80,000. I felt sick. But that was just the beginning. 4 months ago, I noticed some irregularities in our bank statements. Small withdrawals I didn't remember making. I thought maybe I was getting forgetful, so I didn't mention it. But they kept happening. 200 here. 500 there. Always amounts small enough that I might not notice. I checked our accounts more carefully. The withdrawals were being made from an ATM near Lisa and Marcus's house. At first, I thought maybe someone had stolen my card. But then I found something in my wallet, a second debit card I didn't recognize. Same account number, but issued last year. I never requested it. I called the bank. They said a card replacement had been requested online using my login credentials. The new card was mailed to our address. But I never saw it arrive, Maggie. Do you know why? Because Lisa was here that day. She picked up our mail, remember? She was helping. While you were at your sister's for the week. I did remember. I'd been in Phoenix helping Patricia recover from knee surgery. Lisa had offered to check on Robert, bring him meals, collect the mail. I thought she was being a good daughter. I checked our credit cards next. Same thing. Small charges to stores near their house, cash advances. Nothing large enough to trigger alerts, but it added up to thousands of dollars. That's when I realized this wasn't impulsive theft. This was calculated, systematic. She'd been planning this for years. I installed security software on my computer and started monitoring everything. That's when I discovered the most horrifying part. Lisa had installed keylogging software on our home computer. Every password, every account number, every piece of information we typed, she had access to all of it. She'd been monitoring us for at least a year, maybe longer. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely hold the pages. But even that wasn't the worst of it, Maggie. I'm so sorry. I wish I didn't have to tell you this. I found documents on her computer. I know I shouldn't have looked, but I had to know how deep this went. I found draft power of attorney forms with my signature forged. I found research about elder care facilities and memory care units. I found email exchanges between Lisa and Marcus discussing the value of our house and how to handle us. They're planning to have us declared incompetent, Maggie. Both of us. They want to put us in a facility, sell our house, and take control of all our assets. They've been documenting everything. Every time I forget where I put my keys, every time you repeat a story, every normal sign of aging, and framing it as dementia. I found an email from Lisa to a lawyer, asking about guardianship proceedings. She was inquiring about how to initiate competency evaluations. Our own daughter, Maggie. Our little girl. She's been planning to institutionalize us and steal everything we've worked for our entire lives. I couldn't breathe. The room felt like it was spinning. I confronted her 3 days ago. I showed her some of the evidence, not all of it, because I wanted to keep this safety deposit box secret. She denied everything at first, then got angry, then cried and said she only borrowed money because she was desperate and knew we'd say no if she asked directly. She said she was planning to pay it all back. She begged me not to tell you. She said it would break your heart. She promised to get help, to pay back everything, to stop. She was so convincing, Maggie. For a moment, I almost believed her. But then I checked the security footage from our doorbell camera. That same night, after she left our house, she sat in her car in our driveway for 20 minutes, on the phone. I enhanced the audio. She was talking to Marcus. She said, "Dad knows everything. We need to accelerate the timeline. He's going to tell Mom, and then we're screwed. We need to act now." And Marcus said something I couldn't quite hear, and then Lisa said, "I don't care what it takes. We're too deep in this. If we don't follow through, we'll lose everything. And I'm not going to prison because he decided to play detective." That's when I realized my life might be in danger. Our lives, Maggie. I set up this safety deposit box the next day. I've documented everything. Bank statements, recordings, emails I recovered from Lisa's computer, the forged documents, everything. I've also included a flash drive with security camera footage and audio recordings. I scheduled this message to send to your phone if I didn't cancel it every 24 hours. If you're reading this, it means I missed a check-in. It means something happened. I don't want to believe Lisa would actually hurt me. She's our daughter. But people do terrible things when they're desperate. And according to the emails I found, Lisa and Marcus are drowning in gambling debts. They owe over $300,000 to some very dangerous people. We were never their parents, Maggie. We were their retirement plan. The letter went on for 2 more pages, detailing Robert's instructions. What to do with the evidence, which lawyer to contact, how to protect myself. But I couldn't read anymore. I was crying too hard, my tears falling onto Robert's careful typing and smudging the ink. My husband hadn't died in an accident. My daughter had killed him. I don't know how long I sat there in that vault, holding my husband's letter and sobbing. But eventually the tears stopped, and when they did, something else took their place. A cold, clear fury. Robert had protected me one last time by documenting everything. He'd given me the tools I needed to fight back, to keep myself safe, to make sure Lisa didn't win. I wiped my eyes and opened the first folder. Inside were bank statements going back 3 years, with every suspicious transaction highlighted in yellow. Robert had been thorough. He'd always been thorough. I opened the second folder. Photographs of the forged power of attorney documents, taken with time and date stamps. The third folder contained printed emails between Lisa and Marcus, discussing their plans in chilling detail. The fourth folder held information about their gambling debts, casino receipts, loan documents, threatening letters from creditors. The fifth folder was labeled, The Accident, Evidence of Tampering. My hands hesitated over that one. Did I really want to know? Did I want to know exactly how my daughter had murdered her father? Yes, I did. Because Robert had trusted me with this truth, and I wasn't going to let his death be in vain. I opened the folder and began to read. The fifth folder was thinner than the others, but what it contained made my blood run cold. Robert had been meticulous, even in documenting his own impending murder. The first document was a printout from his phone, a series of text messages between him and Lisa from the week before he died. I recognized the conversation. I'd been there for part of it. Lisa, Dad, can we meet for coffee tomorrow? Just the 2 of us. I want to apologize properly for everything. Robert, I don't think that's a good idea right now, Lisa. Lisa, please, Dad. I know I've made mistakes, but you're my father. I can't lose you. Mom doesn't need to know. Just give me a chance to explain everything face to face. Robert, Lisa, I think we need some distance right now. Lisa, Dad, I'm begging you. 1 hour, that's all I'm asking. There are things I need to tell you about Marcus, about why we got into this mess. Things I couldn't say in front of Mom, please. I remembered that conversation. It had happened on Sunday evening, 2 days before Robert died. He'd been sitting in his study, and I'd walked in to ask if he wanted tea. He'd looked troubled. Everything okay? I'd asked. Lisa wants to meet for coffee, he'd said. Just the 2 of us. That might be good, I'd suggested, not knowing what I know now. Maybe she wants to come clean about something. Talk without worrying about upsetting me. Robert had looked at me for a long moment, and I'd seen something in his eyes, a sadness so deep it had made my chest ache. But he'd nodded. Maybe you're right. The text conversation continued. Robert, all right, 1 hour. But I'm not changing my mind about what needs to happen. Lisa, thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. How about Tuesday afternoon? I know a quiet place on Canyon Ridge Road. Beautiful views. We can talk without interruptions. Robert, fine. Send me the address, Canyon Ridge Road, where his car had gone off the embankment. My hands were shaking as I turned to the next document. It was a report Robert had written himself, dated Monday, the day before he died. Note to Maggie, I'm meeting Lisa tomorrow at 3 p.m. I know you think I'm being paranoid, but I need to document this. After what I heard in her phone conversation with Marcus, I don't trust her. I've told David about the safety deposit box. Not everything. I didn't want to burden him with the full truth yet, but I told him if anything happens to me, he should make sure you access box 84R7392 at First National Bank. I made him promise not to tell Lisa. I've also sent copies of the most damaging evidence to my attorney, Harold Greenberg. He has instructions to open a sealed envelope if I die under suspicious circumstances. I installed a dash camera in my car last week. It records continuously and uploads to a cloud server. If something happens during this meeting with Lisa, there will be a record. I pray I'm wrong about all this. I pray that tomorrow, Lisa and I will have coffee, she'll apologize sincerely, and we'll figure out a path forward. I want to be wrong, Maggie. I want to believe our daughter isn't capable of what I think she might be planning. But if I'm right, and if you're reading this, then you know I loved you until my very last moment. And I'm so sorry I couldn't stop what was coming. The next item in the folder was a flash drive labeled, Dash Cam, October 22, October 22. The day Robert died, I stared at that flash drive for a long time. Did I really want to watch my husband's final moments? Did I want to see my daughter's face as she? I had to stop that thought. I couldn't finish it. Not yet. But I needed to know. Not just for Robert, but for myself. Because if I was going to fight back, if I was going to protect myself and make sure Lisa faced justice, I needed to know exactly what happened. I pulled out my phone and looked at the time. I'd been in this vault for almost 2 hours. The bank manager hadn't disturbed me, but I couldn't stay here forever. I needed to take all of this evidence somewhere safe. Somewhere I could review it properly. But not home. If Lisa had installed key logging software on our computer, what else had she done? Were there cameras in the house? Recording devices. Trust no one, Robert had said. I carefully packed everything back into the safety deposit box except for the flash drive, which I slipped into my purse. Then I pressed the button to summon Frank Morrison. He appeared within a minute. Mrs. Chen, are you all right? Can I get you some water? I must have looked terrible, red-eyed, pale, shaking. But I forced myself to stand straight. I'm fine, thank you. Mr. Morrison, I need to ask you something. This box, my husband paid for it for how long? 5 years prepaid, he said. And he left instructions that no one else should be given access, even with a court order, unless they could produce a specific code phrase. A code phrase. He nodded. He said you would know it if you needed it. Something about, let me check my notes. He pulled out a small notebook. Here it is. Alaska anniversary cruise. Does that mean something to you? My eyes filled with tears again. Our 43rd anniversary. The trip Robert had been planning. The surprise he'd wanted to give me. He'd made it our security code. Yes, I whispered. That means something to me. Good. Then you can rest assured that this box and its contents are completely secure. No one can access it without your permission and that code phrase. Thank you. Can I return later today to retrieve more items? Of course. The bank is open until 5. I left the bank and sat in my car for several minutes, trying to decide what to do next. I couldn't go home. Not yet. Not until I knew what was on that flash drive and could think clearly about my next steps. There was one person Robert had trusted enough to tell about the safety deposit box, David. I pulled out my phone and called my son. He answered on the second ring. Mom, is everything okay? I'm at the airport, about to board. David, I need to ask you something. Did your father tell you anything unusual in the last few weeks? Anything about a bank box? There was a pause. Mom, where are you right now? In my car. In the First National Bank parking lot. Another pause. Longer this time. Mom, I'm going to miss my flight. Give me your location. I'm coming to you. David, you don't need to. Dad made me promise something. He said, and his voice was tight. He made me promise that if anything happened to him, I would make sure you got to that safety deposit box, and then I would stay with you until you were safe. I didn't understand what he meant at the time. I thought he was just being morbid, processing his mortality or something. But he was serious, Mom. He was so serious. My son had known. Not everything maybe, but he'd known something was wrong. Send me your location, David said. I'll be there in 20 minutes. And Mom, don't go anywhere alone. Dad was very specific about that. He said, David, no matter what, don't let your mother be alone with Lisa. My heart was pounding. He said that. Those exact words. I didn't understand why. But I'm starting to get a very bad feeling that I'm about to find out. I sent him my location and sat in my car, watching people go in and out of the bank. Normal people, living normal lives, probably worried about normal things like mortgage payments and grocery lists. They had no idea that the elderly woman sitting in the Honda Civic was holding evidence that her own daughter had committed murder. David arrived in 19 minutes. I watched him pull up in his rental car, his face grim. He'd always looked like Robert, but in that moment the resemblance was uncanny. Same determined jaw, same intelligent eyes, same expression of barely controlled anger. He got into my passenger seat and closed the door. For a moment, we just sat there looking at each other. Tell me, he said quietly. So I did. I told him about the text message at the funeral, about the safety deposit box, about Robert's letter and the evidence he'd compiled. I watched my son's face cycle through disbelief, shock, horror, and finally, a cold fury that matched my own. Lisa, he said, and it wasn't a question. Our sister murdered our father. I haven't watched the dash cam footage yet, I said, but Robert believed his life was in danger. He documented everything. And 2 days after he met with her to talk, he was dead. David's hands were clenched into fists. Where's the footage? I pulled the flash drive from my purse. Here? But David, I don't know if we should watch it. If it shows what I think it shows. We have to, he said. We have to know exactly what happened, for Dad. And for you, because you're not safe, Mom. If Lisa killed Dad to keep him quiet, what do you think she'll do when she realizes you know everything? He was right. I knew he was right. My hotel room, David said. I never checked out. We'll go there, watch the footage, and figure out what to do next. But first I need to know, have you told anyone about this, anyone at all, just you? And the bank manager knows I accessed the box, but not what was in it. Good. We keep it that way. And Mom, I need you to do something that's going to be really hard. What? You need to act normal around Lisa. If she calls, answer. If she wants to visit, let her. We can't let her know that we know. Not until we have a plan. The thought of sitting in the same room as my daughter, knowing what she'd done, made me feel physically ill. But David was right. Okay, I said. I can do that. You're stronger than you know, Mom. Dad always said that about you. He said you had a core of steel underneath all that kindness. We drove to David's hotel in separate cars. His room was on the 3rd floor, a standard business hotel room with a desk and a chair. He set up his laptop while I sat on the edge of the bed, my heart hammering. Are you sure you want to watch this? He asked me one more time. I have to. He nodded and inserted the flash drive. A few clicks later and the dashcam interface appeared on the screen. David clicked on the file dated October 22, 3:47 p.m. The video began playing. It was from inside Robert's car, facing forward through the windshield. The quality was good, crisp and clear. I could see the dashboard, the steering wheel, and through the windshield Canyon Ridge Road winding ahead. Robert's hands were visible on the wheel. The timestamp showed 3:47 p.m. The audio crackled to life. Lisa, this is insane. That was Robert's voice, strained and angry. Pull over. Pull over right now. I can't, Dad. Lisa's voice. My daughter's voice. But there was something wrong with it, something flat and cold. I can't let you ruin everything. We're in too deep. Marcus and I will lose everything. Do you understand? Everything. So you're just going to, what? Force me off the road. Kill your own father. The camera captured Robert's profile as he turned his head. He must have been looking at Lisa, who was apparently driving beside him. I don't want to. Lisa's voice cracked. But you're not giving me a choice. You were going to tell Mom. You were going to go to the police. You were going to destroy us. You destroyed yourselves, Robert shouted. I was trying to help you. I was willing to work something out, to protect you from the worst of this. But you've been planning to institutionalize your own mother. Do you have any idea? We needed the money, Lisa screamed. Do you understand? We need it. The people we owe. They're not patient, Dad. They're not kind. If we don't pay them back, they'll kill us. So I can choose between my parents or my husband and me. And I'm sorry, but I choose us. Lisa, please. The video showed Robert's car starting to swerve. Lisa must have been forcing him toward the edge of the road. I'm sorry, Daddy, Lisa said, and she was crying now. I'm so sorry. But you should have just stayed quiet. You should have just let us handle it. Why did you have to be so stubborn? Because I love your mother, Robert said, and his voice was suddenly calm. Resigned. And I won't let you hurt her, even if it costs me everything. There was a sound of metal scraping against metal. The car lurched violently to the right. I love you, Maggie, Robert said, and those were his last words. The car went off the road. The camera showed sky, trees tumbling. The horrible sound of crunching metal and breaking glass. And then the feed went dark. David and I sat in silence. We were both crying. My daughter. My little girl. The baby I'd carried for 9 months, nursed, raised, loved with every fiber of my being. She had murdered her father while he spoke my name. We'll go to the police, David said, his voice hoarse. Right now. This is evidence. This is murder. But I was thinking more clearly now. The shock was wearing off, replaced by something else. The methodical, analytical part of my brain. The accountant's brain that Robert had always appreciated, was starting to work. We can't, I said slowly. What? Mom, she killed him. I know. But David, think about it. We go to the police right now. What happens? They arrest Lisa. She gets a lawyer. A good lawyer paid for by what? She and Marcus are broke. They'll sell our house to pay for her defense. And then what? She claims it was an accident, that they were arguing and her car drifted too close. It's her word against this video. And a good lawyer might be able to argue that the audio doesn't prove intent. But Ed, while she's out on bail, what's to stop her from coming after me? She killed her father to protect her secret. What do you think she'll do when she knows I have evidence against her? David's face paled. You're right. God, you're right. We need to be smart about this. We need to build an airtight case. We need to make sure that when we move against her, she can't wiggle out of it, can't hurt me, can't escape justice. What are you suggesting? I thought about Robert's letter, about his careful documentation, about the way he'd planned for this moment, even knowing he might not survive to see it through. Would do what your father would have done, I said. We investigate. We gather every piece of evidence. We build a case so strong that Lisa has no choice but to face what she's done. And we do it carefully so she never sees it coming. David looked at me with something like awe. Dad was right about you. About what? That steel core. He reached over and squeezed my hand. Okay, we do this smart, we do this right. But Mom, you can't stay at the house, it's not safe. I have to. If I suddenly move out or act suspicious, Lisa will know something's wrong. I have to be the grieving widow. Confused, sad, overwhelmed. I have to let her think she's getting away with it. Then I'm not leaving, David said firmly. I'll tell work it's a family emergency. I'll stay as long as it takes. You have a wife and children. Who will understand that my mother needs me? Sarah already told me to stay as long as necessary, and Dad made me promise, Mom. He made me promise to keep you safe. I looked at my son, my beautiful, loyal son, and felt a surge of gratitude so strong it nearly overwhelmed me. Okay, I said. Okay, we do this together. David copied the dash cam footage to his laptop and to the cloud, making sure we had multiple backups. Then he removed the flash drive and handed it to me. This goes back in the safety deposit box, he said. Along with everything else, that's our insurance policy. My phone buzzed. A text message from Lisa. Hi, Mom. Just checking on you. Did you sleep okay? I'm gonna bring over some soup for lunch. See you around noon. Love you. Love you. I showed the message to David. His jaw clenched. What do I say? You say yes, he said. You say thank you. You play the part. But Mom, I'll be there too. I'm changing my flight to next week. I'm not leaving you alone with her. I typed out a response. That's sweet of you, honey. David's staying a few more days, so make enough for 3. See you soon. I hit send and then looked at my son. She's coming over in 2 hours. Then we have 2 hours to prepare, David said. 2 hours to make sure you can look our father's murderer in the eye and pretend you don't know what she did. I thought about Robert. About his last words. About how he'd spent his final moments trying to protect me. I can do it, I said. For your father, I can do anything. David and I spent the next hour preparing like actors rehearsing for the performance of our lives. He made coffee while I sat at the small hotel desk, and we talked through every detail. She's going to be watching you, David said, looking for any sign that you suspect something. So you need to think about what a normal grieving widow would be like right now. Exhausted, I said. Overwhelmed. Probably not eating well. Maybe a little scattered, forgetful. Exactly. And she'll expect you to lean on her. To need her help, I thought about the forged power of attorney documents Robert had found. The research about memory care facilities. Lisa had been building a narrative for months. That her parents were declining, that they needed someone to take care of them, that she was the dutiful daughter stepping up. She wants me to seem incompetent, I said slowly. She needs me to appear like I can't handle things on my own. David nodded grimly. So you give her that? You let her think her plan is working. You ask her for help with things. You seem confused about paperwork. You forget little details, but not too much, I said. If I suddenly seem dramatically worse, she'll be suspicious. Right. Subtle. Gradual. He paused. Mom, I know this is asking a lot, having to pretend with her, knowing what she did. I can do it, I said firmly. But my hands were shaking as I lifted my coffee cup. David noticed. Were you sure you want to go through with this? We could still go to the police right now. Let them handle it. I thought about the dash cam video. About Lisa's voice saying, I choose us. About the sound of my husband's car going off the road. The police will get their evidence, I said. But not until I'm sure she can't hurt anyone else. Not until I know I'm safe. And David, there's something else. What? Your father spent 6 months investigating. He found evidence of theft, forgery, fraud, and then we have the murder itself. But what if there's more? What if Lisa has already done something I don't know about? What if she's already started forging documents or moving money around? David's eyes widened. You think she's still actively stealing from you? I think she killed Dad because he was about to expose her. But his death doesn't solve her money problems. She and Marcus still owe $300,000 to dangerous people. So yes, I think she's going to try to accelerate whatever plan she had. Especially now that Dad isn't here to stop her. Then we need to protect your assets immediately. Without her knowing, I said. That's the tricky part. We spent the next 30 minutes going through what I needed to do. David helped me change all my online passwords using his laptop. Something Lisa's keylogger wouldn't catch. I called the bank and credit card companies from David's phone, not mine. Just in case Lisa had installed tracking software, I set up alerts for any unusual activity on my accounts. There, David said when we finished. At least she can't access anything new. But Mom, you need to check every account Dad had, every investment, every asset. Make sure nothing's been moved or changed. I will. Tomorrow. Today I just need to survive lunch with my daughter. We drove back to my house in separate cars. David arrived first and was waiting in the driveway when I pulled up. As I got out of my car, I saw Lisa's Mercedes turn onto our street. Showtime, David murmured. I took a deep breath and tried to compose my face into something approximating normal grief. Not the cold rage I actually felt. Not the horror and betrayal. Just sadness, exhaustion. The face of a woman who'd lost her husband and was trying to keep functioning. Lisa parked and got out, carrying a large container of soup. She was dressed casually, jeans and a sweater, with her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She looked tired. Were those dark circles under her eyes? Good. She shouldn't sleep well. She'd murdered her father. Mom, Lisa hurried over and pulled me into a hug. I forced myself not to stiffen, not to pull away. I let her embrace me, even though every cell in my body was screaming. Hi, honey, I managed. My voice sounded thin even to my own ears. You look exhausted, Lisa said, pulling back to study my face. Are you sleeping at all? Not really, I said truthfully. I keep waking up and forgetting just for a second that he's gone, and then I remember. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. Oh, Mom, I'm so sorry. I can't imagine what you're going through. She was good, I had to give her that. If I didn't know what I knew, I would have believed every word, every expression of sympathy. David came over and took the soup container from Lisa. Hey sis, thanks for bringing lunch. Of course, we're family. We take care of each other. Lisa linked her arm through mine. Come on, Mom. Let's get you inside. Have you eaten anything today? I don't remember, I said, which was actually true. I couldn't remember the last time I'd eaten. That's what I thought. Lisa guided me toward the house and I let her. I fumbled with my keys at the door, not entirely an act, my hands were still shaking. Inside the house felt different. Or maybe I was different. I looked at the familiar rooms, the living room where Robert and I had watched TV every evening, the kitchen where we'd had breakfast together for 42 years, and they felt contaminated. Lisa had been here, planning her theft, installing her spyware, researching how to have us declared incompetent. How many times had she sat at our table, eating our food, accepting our love, while plotting against us? Mom, are you okay? Lisa was watching me closely. I realized I'd been standing in the hallway, staring at nothing. Sorry, everything reminds me of him. I know. Lisa squeezed my arm. But you're not alone, you have me and David. We're going to get through this together. In the kitchen, David was already setting out bowls. Lisa busied herself heating up the soup. Homemade chicken noodle. Robert's favorite, while I sat at the table, my seat. Robert's seat across from me was empty. So, Lisa said as she stirred the pot, her back to me. I was thinking we should probably start going through Dad's papers soon. I know it's hard, but there are things that need to be handled. Insurance claims, bank accounts, the will, here it was. Less than 24 hours after the funeral and she was already pushing. I suppose you're right, I said slowly. I just don't know where to start. That's why you have me, Lisa said, turning to smile at me. I can handle all of that for you. You shouldn't have to deal with it while you're grieving. David caught my eye across the table. We'd anticipated this. Actually, David said carefully, I was thinking I could help Mom with that. I've got some time off work, and I know Dad's filing system pretty well. Something flickered across Lisa's face. Just for a second, before she smiled. That's sweet, David, but you have your own family to get back to. I live right here. Makes more sense for me to help. Mom might need both of us, David said. It's a lot to go through, sure, of course. Lisa brought the bowls to the table. We can all work on it together. In fact, why don't we start this afternoon? Get a head start on things. I'm so tired, I said, and I didn't have to fake the exhaustion in my voice. Maybe tomorrow. Of course, Mom. Whatever you need. But I could see the impatience in Lisa's eyes. She wanted access to Robert's papers. She wanted to move forward with whatever plan she had, which meant I needed to know exactly what that plan was. We ate the soup in relative silence. It was good. Lisa had always been a talented cook, but it tasted like ashes in my mouth. I forced myself to take a few spoonfuls, to smile weakly and thank her. This is delicious, honey. You always take such good care of me. That's what daughters are for? Lisa said, patting my hand. I looked at her hand on mine. Those were the hands that had gripped a steering wheel and forced her father's car off the road. Those were the hands that had typed emails to her husband discussing how to handle us. I pulled my hand away, pretending to reach for my water glass. After lunch, Lisa insisted on cleaning up. While she was at the sink, David leaned close and whispered, "You're doing great." But I didn't feel great. I felt like I was being slowly suffocated. Mom, Lisa said, drying her hands, I was thinking about something. Now that Dad's gone, this house is going to be a lot for you to manage alone. Have you thought about maybe downsizing? Moving somewhere smaller, more manageable? There it was. She wanted me to sell the house. I haven't really thought about it, I said. This is my home, our home. No. And I'm not saying you need to decide anything right now. But eventually, you might want to consider it. This place is so big for one person. And the maintenance, the yard work. It might be nice to be somewhere simpler. Maybe a nice senior community where you'd have people around, activities, a senior community. Like the memory care facilities she'd been researching. Let's not worry about that right now, David said firmly. Mom just lost Dad. She doesn't need to be thinking about moving. I'm just trying to help her plan for the future. Lisa said, a edge creeping into her voice. And we appreciate that, I said quickly, trying to head off any conflict. But David's right. I can't think about that yet. Lisa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her expression tightened. I need to take this. Excuse me. She stepped out onto the back porch, and through the window, I could see her pacing as she talked. Her body language was tense. Angry. Marcus, David asked quietly. Probably. Or maybe the people they owe money to. David pulled out his phone and opened the voice recording app. I'm gonna move closer to the window. Maybe I can pick up what she's saying. He casually walked over to the sink, as if to get more water, positioning himself near the back door. I saw him hold his phone low, the recording app active. Lisa's voice drifted in, muffled but audible. I know that, but I need more time. No, I can't just— Marcus, he just died 3 days ago. I can't move that fast without raising suspicions. Well, David being here doesn't help. I don't know, a week maybe. Yes, I understand what's at stake. I said I'll handle it. She ended the call and stood for a moment with her back to us, her shoulders tight. Then she took a breath, passed it on a smile, and came back inside. Sorry about that. Work stuff, she said lightly. On a Saturday, David asked. Real estate never sleeps. She picked up her purse. I should probably get going. Marcus and I have some things to take care of. But Mom, I'll come by tomorrow, okay? Maybe we can start going through Dad's office. Just a little at a time. Okay, I said softly. She hugged me again at the door. I love you, Mom. We're gonna get through this. I love you too, I said, and the lie tasted like poison. After she left, David and I stood at the window, watching her car disappear down the street. Did you get it? I asked. He played back the recording. Lisa's voice came through clearly enough. I can't move that fast without raising suspicions. I said I'll handle it. She's under pressure, David said. From Marcus. Probably from whoever they owe money to. She's gonna try to accelerate whatever plan she has. Which means we need to move faster too. I headed for Robert's office. Help me go through everything. I need to know exactly what assets we have, what's been touched, and what she might be planning to do next. Robert's office was exactly as he'd left it. His desk calendar still showed October, with appointments he'd never keep. His reading glasses sat next to his keyboard. A coffee mug with cold, moldy coffee sat on a coaster. I had to take a moment, pressing my hand to my mouth to keep from crying. Mom, David said gently. I'm okay, let's do this. We started with the filing cabinet. Robert had always been organized, everything labeled and filed properly. We went through folder after folder: insurance policies, investment statements, property deeds, tax returns. Mom, look at this. David held up a folder marked life insurance. Inside was a policy for $500,000 with me as the beneficiary. But there was a note in Robert's handwriting. Change beneficiary from Lisa to Maggie only 3 months ago. Lisa doesn't know. He knew, I whispered. Even 3 months ago he knew something was wrong, but we kept searching. In the back of the bottom drawer, hidden behind old tax returns, we found another folder. This one wasn't labeled. Inside were more printed emails between Lisa and Marcus. These were recent, from just 2 weeks ago. Marcus, the guy I told you about, he can get you power of attorney documents that will pass any scrutiny. 5,000. Lisa, we don't have 5,000. Marcus, then we get it from your parents. You still have access to their accounts, right? Lisa, Dad changed some of the passwords. He's getting suspicious. Marcus, then we need to move faster. Get the documents done. Get them signed. Once you have POA, you can move everything into accounts we control. Lisa, and if they fight it, Marcus, their old babe. We'll say they're confused. We'll say they're forgetting things. We'll get a doctor to evaluate them. I know a guy who'll sign whatever we need for the right price. Lisa. What about David? Marcus, he's across the country. By the time he figures out what's happening, it'll be too late. The money will be moved, the house will be in contract, and your parents will be settled in a nice facility where they can't cause problems. I felt sick. This wasn't just theft. This was a systematic plan to destroy our lives, to lock us away, to steal everything we'd worked for. There's more, David said, his voice shaking. He'd found another email dated 1 week before Robert died. Lisa, Dad knows everything. He confronted me. He has evidence. Marcus, then we don't have a choice anymore. You know what needs to happen. Lisa, I can't. Marcus, you can, and you will. Unless you want to explain to Tony and his friends why we can't pay them back. You've seen what they do to people who don't pay, Lisa. You want that to happen to us. Lisa, there has to be another way. Marcus, there isn't. Your dad is going to ruin everything. He's going to go to the police. He's going to tell your mother. And then we're done. We're worse than done. We're dead. So you have one choice. Handle it. Or I will. Lisa, don't threaten me. Marcus, I'm not threatening you. I'm telling you the truth. This is survival now. Your parents or us choose. The next email was Lisa's response, sent 2 days before Robert died. Lisa, I'll handle it. I'll set up a meeting with Dad. Somewhere private. I'll make it look like an accident. Marcus, that's my girl. I knew you had it in you. Lisa, I'm doing this for us. Don't ever forget that. Marcus, I won't. And after this is done, we'll have everything we need. The insurance money alone will get Tony off our backs, plus whatever we can get from selling the house. We'll be free, babe, finally free. David and I stared at the emails. Here it was, proof of premeditation, proof of conspiracy, proof that Marcus had pushed Lisa into murder and she'd agreed. This is it, David said. This is everything we need. We take this to the police right now. But I was thinking about something else. David, these emails. Your father printed them 2 weeks ago. Which means Marcus and Lisa have probably deleted them from their computers by now. We have printouts, but the originals are gone. So a good lawyer could argue these are fakes. That we fabricated them, but we didn't. I know that. But we need more. We need current evidence. We need to catch them actively trying to steal from me, actively working their plan. We need evidence that's so overwhelming, so undeniable, that no lawyer in the world could defend them. David was quiet for a moment. Then, you want to let her keep going. You want to catch her in the act. I want to make sure that when we bring this to the police, there's no way out for her. No plea bargains, no reduced sentences. I want her to face the full consequences of what she did. That's risky, Mom. What if she moves faster than we expect? What if she tries to hurt you? That's why you're here, and that's why we're going to be very careful. I looked at my son. Your father spent 6 months building this case. He died trying to protect me. I'm not going to let that be for nothing. We're going to finish what he started. David studied my face for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. Okay, but we do this smart, we document everything. And at the first sign that you're in danger, we go to the police immediately. Deal. We spent the rest of the afternoon going through Robert's evidence and planning our next moves. We would let Lisa think her plan was working. We would give her opportunities to incriminate herself further. And we would record everything. But most importantly, we would protect our assets, quietly, carefully, without her knowing. As the sun set and the house grew dark, I looked at Robert's empty chair and made him a silent promise. I will finish this. For you, for us. And I will make sure she answers for what she did. Over the next 3 days, David and I became architects of our own elaborate deception. Every morning, I woke up and put on the mask of a grieving, slightly confused widow. Every day, Lisa came by to help, and every day, I let her think her plan was progressing exactly as she wanted. But behind the scenes, we were working. David had called Harold Greenberg, Robert's attorney, using a burner phone we'd purchased with cash. Harold had been shocked by what we told him but agreed to help. He'd already received Robert's sealed envelope with instructions to open it if Robert died suspiciously. Now, with our additional evidence, he was preparing legal documents to protect me. We're going to create a trust, Harold explained during a secret meeting at his office while Lisa thought I was at the grocery store. All your assets will be transferred into it. You'll still have full control, but Lisa won't be able to touch anything, even if she somehow gets power of attorney documents signed. Can we do that without her knowing? I asked. Already done, Harold said, sliding papers across his desk. As of this morning, your house, your bank accounts, your investments, everything is protected. I've also filed paperwork with the courts flagging any future attempts to obtain guardianship or power of attorney over you. If Lisa tries to file anything, the judge will be immediately notified of potential elder abuse. I signed the documents with a steady hand. Each signature felt like armor, like another layer of protection between me and my daughter's plans. There's something else, Harold said carefully. Robert left a letter for you. He asked me to give it to you personally if anything happened to him. He handed me a sealed envelope with my name written in Robert's handwriting. I held it for a moment, feeling the weight of it, before tucking it into my purse. I'll read it tonight, I said quietly. Meanwhile, David was working his own angles. He'd contacted the detective who'd investigated Robert's accident, a Detective Sarah Morrison, and requested a meeting. She'd been reluctant at first, but when David mentioned he had new evidence, she agreed to see us. But not at the station, David told me. She said if we're making serious accusations against a family member, we need to be discreet until we know what we're dealing with. We met Detective Morrison at a coffee shop across town, far from anywhere Lisa might see us. She was in her 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. She listened without interrupting as David and I laid out everything: Robert's investigation, the safety deposit box, the emails, the forged documents, the dashcam footage. When we finished, she sat back in her chair, her expression grave. This is substantial, she said carefully. If even half of what you're telling me is true, we're talking about fraud, elder abuse, and potentially murder. But Mrs. Chen, I have to ask, why didn't you come to us immediately? Because I need to be sure, I said. My daughter is smart. She's been planning this for years. If we move too quickly, she'll find a way out. I need ironclad evidence. I need to catch her actively trying to harm me so there's no room for doubt. That's dangerous, Morrison said bluntly. If she killed your husband, you could be next. That's why I'm here, David said. I'm not leaving my mother's side until Lisa is in custody. Morrison drummed her fingers on the table, thinking, all right, here's what I can do. Unofficially, I'll reopen the investigation into your husband's death. We still have the car, and if there's evidence of tampering, we'll find it. I'll also start building a case based on the evidence you've provided. But Mrs. Chen, I need you to be very careful. No confrontations. No accusations. If your daughter suspects you know something, she could become desperate, I understand. And I need copies of everything. The dash cam footage, the emails, all of it. Can you get me that? David nodded. I'll have it to you by tomorrow. One more thing, Morrison said, leaning forward. I want you to wear a wire when you're around your daughter. If we can get her to admit to anything, the theft, the planning, anything, that's evidence we can use. Are you willing to do that? My heart hammered at the thought. Wear a wire. Record my own daughter incriminating herself. Yes, I said. Whatever it takes. Morrison gave me a small device, barely larger than a button, that could be clipped inside my clothing. It would record everything within a 15-foot radius and transmit to David's phone in real time. Use it carefully, she warned. And remember, don't push. Don't lead. Just let her talk and see what she says. That evening, Lisa called to say she was coming over the next morning to help me organize Dad's paperwork. I agreed, my voice appropriately tired and grateful. After I hung up, David and I sat at the kitchen table planning our strategy. She's going to push you to sign things, David said. Documents she claims are just basic paperwork but are actually giving her control. Then I'll act confused. I'll say I need time to read everything, that it's all too overwhelming. Good, but not too resistant. You don't want her to think you're suspicious. I nodded, practicing in my mind the careful balance I'd need to strike. Confused enough to seem vulnerable, but not so resistant that Lisa would back off. Before bed, I finally opened Robert's letter. I sat alone in our bedroom, my bedroom now, and unfolded the pages with trembling hands. My dearest Maggie, if Harold is giving you this letter, then my worst fears have come true. I'm so sorry, my love. Sorry I couldn't protect you in person. Sorry you have to face this alone. Sorry for everything I didn't say when I had the chance. We've been married for 42 years, and I've loved you for every single day. You are the strongest person I know, even if you don't always see it. You think I was the strong one in our marriage, but you're wrong. Your strength is quieter, deeper. It's in the way you face difficulties with grace. In the way you always see the best in people, even when they don't deserve it. I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking about how you failed as a mother, how you didn't see what Lisa was becoming. Don't do that to yourself. Lisa's choices are her own. We gave her every advantage, every opportunity. What she became is not our fault. But I also know you, Maggie. I know you won't just accept what happened. You'll want to fight back, to make things right, to seek justice. That's good. That's what you should do. But please, please be careful. Lisa is desperate, and desperate people do terrible things. Trust David, he's a good man, honest and loyal, like his mother. Let him help you. Don't try to do this alone. I've left you everything you need to protect yourself and to bring Lisa to justice. Use it wisely. And remember that whatever happens, wherever I am, I'm still loving you. I'm still proud of you. I'm still your Robert. We said we'd grow old together, take that Alaska cruise for our 43rd anniversary. I'm sorry I won't be there for that. But I'll be with you in every sunset, every morning coffee, every moment you think of me. Be strong, my love. Finish this. And then live. Live fully surrounded by people who truly love you. You deserve that. Forever and always your Robert. P.S. The cruise is already booked. December 15th, 2 weeks. I paid for it last month. Take David and his family. Don't let my absence stop you from having that adventure. Promise me. I cried until I couldn't cry anymore. Then I carefully folded the letter and put it in the safety deposit box the next morning, with all the other evidence. It would stay there safe until this was over. Lisa arrived at 10 o'clock sharp, carrying a briefcase and wearing what I'd come to think of as her professional daughter outfit. Business casual, her hair neat, her makeup perfect. She looked like someone you could trust to handle your affairs. She looked like a lie. Good morning, Mom. She kissed my cheek, and I forced myself not to flinch. Did you sleep better last night? A little, I said. The wire was clipped inside my cardigan, recording every word. David was upstairs in the guest room, monitoring the feed on his phone. That's good. Where's David? Still asleep, I think. He was up late on work calls. Workaholic, just like Dad. Lisa set her briefcase on the kitchen table. Well, I'm glad we can have some mother-daughter time. I brought coffee from that place you like. She'd brought my favorite latte. Vanilla with extra foam. A month ago, this gesture would have made me smile. Now it felt like manipulation. Every kindness was calculated, designed to make me trust her, to make me vulnerable. Thank you, honey. That's thoughtful. We sat at the table, and Lisa pulled out a stack of papers from her briefcase. Okay, so I've organized everything we need to handle. It looks overwhelming, but we'll just take it step by step. She spread the papers out. First, we have the life insurance claim forms. Pretty straightforward. We just need your signature here, here, and here. I looked at the forms. They appeared legitimate. Standard insurance documents with the company letterhead. But I'd been an accountant for 30 years. I knew how to read fine print. Can I read through these first? Of course. Take your time. Lisa sipped her coffee, seeming perfectly relaxed. Basically, these will process Dad's life insurance payout. The 500,000 policy. Right. I scanned the documents carefully. They looked genuine, nothing suspicious about the beneficiary designation or the payout structure. I signed them, but made a note to call the insurance company directly to verify everything. Great. Lisa filed those papers away. Now, these are a little more complicated. These are the documents to add me as a joint account holder on your bank accounts. Just as a precaution, so I can help you manage things if you need it. Pay bills, handle expenses, that kind of thing. Here it was, the first real test. I looked at the forms. They would give Lisa full access to all my accounts. The accounts that Harold Greenberg had just moved into a protected trust without her knowledge. I don't know, I said slowly, frowning at the papers. Is this really necessary? I've been managing our accounts for 40 years. I know you have, Mom. But things are different now. You're alone and there's a lot to keep track of. What if something happened to you? What if you had a medical emergency? This way, I can make sure your bills get paid, that everything's taken care of. She was good. Her reasoning was sound, her tone loving and concerned. If I didn't know better, I'd believe her. I suppose that makes sense, I said hesitantly. But maybe I should have. David, look at these too. He's good with financial things. Something flickered in Lisa's eyes, just for a second. Annoyance. Fear. Sure, of course, she said smoothly. But Mom, these are really standard documents. And honestly, David's going back to Seattle soon. I'm here. I'm the one who's going to be helping you day to day. You're right. I picked up the pen, then paused. I'm sorry, honey. I'm just so scattered lately. What did you say these were for again? Joint account holder. So I can help manage your finances. Right. I started to sign, then stopped. If you're a joint holder, does that mean you can take money out? Well, technically yes, but I wouldn't do that without asking you first, Mom. This is just for emergencies or to help you pay bills. I want to make your life easier, not harder. I could hear the edge of impatience creeping into her voice. She wanted me to sign, she needed me to sign. I know, sweetheart. It's a lot to think about right now. Can I hold on to these for a few days? Maybe talk to the bank first. Lisa's smile tightened. Of course. Whatever you're comfortable with. She pulled out another set of papers. Well, maybe these will be easier. This is just a basic power of attorney form. Lots of widows have their children handle this, just in case they need help with medical decisions or legal things. It's really common. Power of attorney. The exact document Robert had found forged in Lisa's files. I looked at the papers, pretending to read them carefully, though my heart was racing. This says durable power of attorney. What does that mean? It just means it stays in effect even if you become incapacitated. Again, very standard. So you could make decisions for me even if I didn't want you to? No, it's not like that. It's just a legal protection, Mom. So that if something happened and you couldn't make decisions for yourself, like if you had a stroke or something, I could handle things for you. Instead of having to go to court and have a judge appoint someone. She was describing exactly the scenario she and Marcus had been planning. Get power of attorney, have me declared incompetent, institutionalize me, take control of everything. I don't like thinking about things like that, I said quietly. I know it's uncomfortable, but Mom, it's important. Dad would want you to be protected. The mention of Robert, of how he would want me protected, from the daughter who'd killed him, nearly broke my careful composure. But I held it together. Let me think about it, I said. I need to process all of this. It's too much right now. Lisa's jaw tightened. Mom, I'm trying to help you. These are important documents that need to be handled. You can't just keep putting things off. I'm not putting things off, Lisa. I need time. Your father just died. Can you please give me time? Fine. She gathered the unsigned documents and put them back in her briefcase. But we can't wait forever. There are deadlines for some of these things. What deadlines? I asked. Estate stuff, tax things. I don't want you to get in trouble. There were no immediate deadlines. She was lying, pressuring me. I'll try to be quicker, I said meekly. Lisa's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. I need to take this. Excuse me. She stepped into the living room, and I heard her answer. Not now, Marcus. I said not now. Because she's being difficult. I don't know, she won't sign anything. Well, what do you want me to do? Forge her signature. Don't joke about that. Look, I'll handle it. Just give me a few more days. She came back into the kitchen. Her expression strained. About that. Everything okay? Fine. Just Marcus being Marcus. She forced a smile. Mom, I know this is hard. I know you're overwhelmed, but I'm trying to help you. You have to trust me. I trust her. The daughter who'd murdered her father, who was trying to steal everything, who'd already stolen from us for years. I do trust you, honey, I said, and the lie came easier than I expected. I'm just not myself right now. I need a little time to clear my head. Okay. Lisa gathered her things. I'll come back in a few days, but Mom, please think about what I said. These documents are important, and the sooner we get everything organized, the sooner you can relax and focus on healing. After she left, David came downstairs. He'd recorded everything on his phone. Did you hear? I asked. Every word. His face was grim. She's getting desperate. That call with Marcus. What do you want me to do? Forge her signature? She basically admitted they've discussed it. We need more, I said. We need her to admit to something concrete. I think we should bring Detective Morrison in now. Let her arrest Lisa before this gets more dangerous. But I was thinking about something Lisa had said, about deadlines, about pressure. She's gonna come back, I said slowly. And next time she's going to push harder. Maybe even threaten me if she's desperate enough. Mum, I want her to. I want her to show her true face. I want her to incriminate herself so thoroughly that there's no way she can escape justice. David looked at me with concern. You're playing with fire. I know. But your father played with fire for 6 months trying to protect me, trying to get evidence, and he died for it. I'm not going to let that be for nothing. Over the next 2 days, I didn't hear from Lisa. No calls, no texts, no surprise visits. The silence felt ominous. Then, on the 3rd day, I got a call from my bank. Mrs. Chen, this is Jennifer from First National. I'm calling because we received a request to close several of your accounts and transfer the funds to a new account. I wanted to verify this was authorized by you. My blood ran cold. No, I didn't authorize anything. I see. The request came through our online portal using your login credentials, but given the size of the transfers, over $200, and we require phone verification. I absolutely did not authorize this. Can you tell me what account the money was being transferred to? There was a pause. It appears to be an account in the name of Lisa Chen Martinez. Lisa had tried to steal $200 from me. Please freeze that transfer immediately, I said, and I want to file a formal complaint for fraud. Of course, Mrs. Chen. I'm flagging your accounts right now, and I should tell you, this isn't the first attempt. There have been several login attempts over the past few days, all unsuccessful. Your accounts are currently under enhanced security protocols. After I hung up, I called Detective Morrison. She just tried to steal $200,000 from my bank account, I said without preamble. Did it go through? The bank stopped it, but Morrison, she's getting desperate. She's going to try something else. Mrs. Chen, I think it's time. We have enough evidence now. The dash cam footage, the emails, the attempted theft, we can arrest her. Not yet, I said. Give me 2 more days. I want to confront her. With the wire on, I want to get her confession. That's incredibly dangerous. I know. But I need to do this. For Robert, for myself. Morrison was quiet for a long moment. 2 days. But Mrs. Chen, at the first sign of physical danger you call 911. Do you understand? I understand. I hung up and looked at David, who'd been listening to the whole conversation. You're sure about this? He asked. I'm sure. Then we do it right. We plan every detail. And I'm going to be right there, Mom. In the next room, listening to every word. If anything goes wrong, nothing will go wrong, I said with more confidence than I felt. Lisa is desperate, but she's not stupid. She won't hurt me in my own house with you upstairs. You better be right. I called Lisa. She answered on the 3rd ring. Mom, is everything okay? Lisa, we need to talk. Can you come over tomorrow morning? A pause. Of course. What about the paperwork you brought? I've thought about it, and you're right, I need help. I want to sign everything. I want to get it done. I could almost hear her smile through the phone. That's wonderful, Mom. I'm so glad you're ready to move forward. I'll be there at 10. After I hung up, David looked at me. And now we wait. I agreed. Tomorrow I would face my daughter. Tomorrow I would get the truth. Tomorrow I would finish what Robert started. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed watching the hours tick by on the clock, thinking about what I would say to Lisa. How I would get her to reveal herself. How I would look my daughter in the eye and not let her see that I knew she was a murderer. At 5 in the morning I gave up on sleep and made coffee. David found me sitting at the kitchen table an hour later, staring at nothing. You okay? He asked gently. I keep thinking about when she was little, I said. Do you remember how she used to have nightmares? She'd crawl into bed between your father and me, and we'd hold her until she fell back asleep. She was so small, so trusting. She thought we could protect her from anything. David sat down across from me. That little girl is gone, Mom. I don't know when she changed, or why, but the person coming here today. She's not that scared child anymore. I know. But I keep wondering, where did we go wrong? What did we miss? We didn't go wrong, we gave her everything. love, support, opportunities. She made her own choices. He reached across and squeezed my hand. Don't do this to yourself. Your father said the same thing. In his letter. We spent the next few hours preparing. Detective Morrison arrived at 8, along with another officer. A young man named Rodriguez. They set up recording equipment in the guest room and tested the wire I'd be wearing. Remember? Morrison said, your goal is to get her to talk about what she did. The theft? The planning? Ideally an admission about your husband's death. But don't push too hard. Let her think she's winning. Let her think you're signing over control to her. And if she brings documents, don't sign anything real. We've prepared fake documents that look identical to what she brought before. Sign those instead. That way even if she thinks she has what she wants, she has nothing. David would be upstairs with Morrison and Rodriguez listening to everything. At the first sign of danger, they'd intervene. 2 panic words, Morrison said. If you say I need my medication, we come down immediately. If you say I'm not feeling well, we come down but less urgently. Got it? Got it? At 9:30 they all went upstairs. I sat in the kitchen, the wire hidden under my blouse, and waited. Lisa arrived precisely at 10 o'clock. Through the window I watched her park in the driveway, check her makeup in the rearview mirror, take a deep breath before getting out. She was preparing too, putting on her own mask. I opened the door before she could knock. Mom. She hugged me and I hugged her back, feeling the wire press against my ribs. You look better, more rested. I took a sleeping pill last night. First real sleep I've had since. I'm glad. She came inside carrying her briefcase. Is David here? He had to run some errands. He'll be back later. I saw something flash in her eyes, satisfaction. She wanted me alone. Well, good. This will be easier with just the 2 of us anyway. No offense to David, but sometimes he can be a bit overprotective. He's just worried about me. I know. We both are. She set her briefcase on the kitchen table. So, you said you were ready to sign the paperwork. I've been thinking about what you said. About how Dad would want me protected. You're right. I can't manage everything alone anymore. Lisa smiled, and it looked genuine. If I didn't know better, I would have believed she was just a concerned daughter helping her mother. I'm so proud of you, Mom. I know this is hard, but you're making the right choice. She pulled out the same documents from before, the power of attorney forms, the joint account paperwork. But this time she also pulled out something new, a thick envelope marked, Trust Amendment. What's this? I asked. Oh, Dad set up a trust years ago for estate planning, remember? This just updates it to reflect that he's gone and that I'll be the successor trustee. Standard stuff. Standard stuff that would give her control of assets she didn't even know had already been moved beyond her reach. Okay, I said meekly. Where do I sign? Lisa flipped through the pages, marking spots with little sticky tabs. Here and here for the power of attorney. Initial here and here. Then these pages for the bank accounts. I signed the fake documents, watching her face as I did. She was trying to hide it, but I could see the excitement in her eyes. The relief. She thought she was winning. Perfect, she said, gathering the signed pages. Now, Mom, there's one more thing we need to discuss. What's that? She paused as if choosing her words carefully. The house. I know you love this place, but it's really too much for one person. And honestly, the equity in this house could provide you with so much security. We could sell it, put the money in investments, and you could move somewhere smaller, easier to maintain. You want me to sell our home. I want you to be comfortable and secure. You could move into a nice assisted living community. Somewhere with activities, people your age, medical staff on site. You'd have so much less to worry about. Assisted living. The first step toward the memory care facility she'd researched. I don't know, Lisa, this is my home. Your father and I built our life here. I know, Mom, but Dad's gone now. And keeping this big house, maintaining it, paying the taxes and utilities, it's going to drain your resources. You need to think practically. How soon would I have to move? Well, ideally we'd list it soon. The real estate market is good right now. Marcus knows some excellent agents who could get you top dollar. Of course Marcus did. Marcus who'd pushed Lisa to murder. Who'd told her to handle it, or he would. Maybe you're right, I said slowly, but I'd need time to sort through everything. 40 years of memories. Of course! Take a few weeks. But Mom, the sooner we list it, the better. And honestly, once you're settled somewhere new, somewhere without all these reminders of Dad, I think you'll find it easier to move on. Move on. As if Robert was just a memory to be filed away. Can I ask you something, Lisa? Anything? I took a breath. This was it. Are you in some kind of trouble? Her expression shuddered. What do you mean? You just seem stressed lately, distracted, and you're pushing so hard for all of this paperwork. I just wondered if maybe you needed money for something. I'm fine, Mom. I'm just trying to help you. Because if you needed money, you could just ask. You know your father and I would always help you if you were in trouble. Something flickered across her face, guilt, anger, before she smoothed it away. I appreciate that, but really I'm fine. This isn't about me. It's about making sure you're taken care of. I let the silence stretch, watching her. She was uncomfortable now, shifting in her seat. Lisa, I said quietly, your father loved you so much. Did you know that? Even when he was angry with you, even when you disappointed him, he loved you. Her eyes filled with tears, real tears, I thought. Maybe there was still something human left in her after all. I loved him too, she whispered. Did you, even at the end? She blinked, and the tears disappeared. Her face went carefully neutral. What kind of question is that? I just mean, I know you two had some kind of argument before he died. He wouldn't tell me what it was about, but I could tell something was wrong between you. We didn't argue. But her voice was too sharp, too defensive. He seemed worried about something. Worried about you. He was always on his computer, making phone calls. Was he trying to help you with something? Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. The week before he died, he asked me about you and Marcus. About whether I thought you were happy. Whether I thought you might be in some kind of trouble. He said you'd been asking about our finances, about life insurance, about the house. Why were you asking about those things, Lisa? Her jaw tightened. I was just trying to understand your financial situation so I could help. There's nothing wrong with that. But you didn't ask me. You asked your father. Secretly. Why? I didn't want to worry you. Or you didn't want me to know what you were planning. The air in the kitchen suddenly felt thick, dangerous. Lisa stood up, her chair scraping against the floor. What exactly are you accusing me of, Mom? I'm not accusing you of anything. I'm just trying to understand. Your father died very suddenly. Very conveniently, right before he was going to tell me something important about you. And now you're here, pushing me to sign over control of everything I have. Can you see why I might be confused? Dad died in a car accident. A tragic, horrible accident. Her voice was cold now. Are you seriously suggesting? I'm not suggesting anything. I'm just asking questions. The same questions your father was asking before he died. Lisa's hands clenched into fists. You know what? Maybe this was a mistake. Maybe you're not ready to handle any of this. Maybe you're more confused than I thought. Confused? Is that what you're going to say? That I'm confused? That I'm not thinking clearly? Is that how you'll justify taking everything from me? Taking? I'm trying to help you? Like you helped your father? The words hung in the air like a blade. Lisa's face went white, then red. How dare you, she said, her voice shaking. How dare you suggest? I love Dad. I would never. Canyon Ridge Road, I said quietly. That's where he died. Where you told him to meet you. Where you forced his car off the road. Lisa's eyes went wide. For a moment, she just stared at me. Then she laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. You've lost your mind. You're grieving and you're looking for someone to blame, but this is insane. Isaac, your father installed a dash cam in his car. Did you know that? The color drained from her face completely now. The whole thing is recorded, Lisa. Every word you said. Every moment of it. I've seen the video. I've heard you tell him you had to choose between him and Marcus. I've heard you apologize as you killed him. She stood frozen, her mouth opening and closing but no sound coming out. I also found all the emails between you and Marcus, the ones where you discussed stealing from us. The ones where you planned to have us declared incompetent and institutionalized. The research you did on memory care facilities, the forged power of attorney documents. No, she whispered. No, that's not. Your father knew everything. Lisa, he spent 6 months investigating you. He documented every theft, every lie, every plan you made. And he left it all for me in a safety deposit box. He wanted me to know the truth about what you'd become. Lisa sank back into her chair, her face in her hands. For a long moment, there was only silence. Then she looked up, and her expression was something I'd never seen before. Cold, calculating, empty. You can't prove any of that, she said flatly. I have the dash cam video. I have the emails you thought you deleted. I have bank records showing you stole over 80,000 from us. I have evidence of you trying to access my accounts just 3 days ago, trying to transfer 200,000 to yourself. I have everything, Lisa. Your father made sure of that. She stood up slowly, and something about her posture made my heart race. She looked dangerous now, backed into a corner. Then why haven't you gone to the police? She asked. If you have all this evidence, why are you telling me? Why let me come here? Because I needed to hear it from you. I needed to know if there was any part of my daughter left. Any remorse. Any humanity? Humanity? She laughed again, and it was an ugly sound. You want to talk about humanity? You and Dad with your perfect life, your perfect marriage, your comfortable retirement while Marcus and I were drowning in debt. Do you have any idea what it's like to owe 300,000 to people who will literally kill you if you don't pay? So you killed your father instead. I didn't want to. She was shouting now, tears streaming down her face. I loved him. But he was going to ruin everything. He was going to go to the police, and then Marcus and I would be arrested for fraud. And the people we owed would kill us. I didn't have a choice. There's always a choice, Lisa. Easy for you to say. You've never had to make a real hard decision in your life. You've never had to choose between the people you love. You're right, I said quietly. I've never had to choose. Because I would never hurt the people I love, no matter what. She wiped her face, smearing her makeup. So what now? You're going to turn me in. Send your own daughter to prison. You killed your father. You tried to steal everything from me. You were planning to lock me away in a facility so you could take my home, my money, my entire life. What did you think would happen? I thought you'd never find out. I thought I'd be the good daughter taking care of her confused mother. I thought. She stopped, shaking her head. It doesn't matter now, does it? No. It doesn't. She looked at me for a long moment. I really did love him, you know. And you, I loved us more. Marcus and me, our future? Is that so wrong? Yes, I said simply. It is. Elisa picked up her briefcase slowly. I'm going to leave now. And if you try to use any of that supposed evidence against me, I'll fight you. I'll claim you fabricated it. I'll say you're a bitter old woman who's confused and grieving and looking for someone to blame. I'll drag this through the courts for years. You can try. She walked to the door, then paused. You know what the worst part is. If you'd just gone along with it, if you'd just signed the papers and moved into assisted living like I wanted, you would have been comfortable. I would have made sure of that. You would have been taken care of, even if you didn't know the truth. But now you've got nothing but the truth. And what good is that going to do you? It's going to put you in prison. She smiled, cold and bitter. We'll see about that. She opened the door, and Detective Morrison was standing there, Officer Rodriguez beside her. Lisa Chen, Marty Morrison said, you're under arrest for the murder of Robert Chen, attempted fraud, elder financial abuse, and conspiracy to commit fraud. You have the right to remain silent. Lisa's face went through a rapid series of emotions, shock, fear, rage, and finally, resignation. She didn't resist as Rodriguez handcuffed her. She just looked at me, standing in the doorway of our house, my house. I hope it was worth it, she said. Destroying your own daughter. I didn't destroy you, Lisa, I said quietly. You destroyed yourself. They led her to the police car. Neighbors were coming out of their houses watching. The elderly couple across the street who'd brought casseroles to the funeral. The young family next door whose kids Lisa used to babysit when they were toddlers. They would all know now. The whole neighborhood would know. David came down the stairs and put his arm around my shoulders. You did it, Mom. You got her confession, it's over? But as I watched the police car drive away with my daughter in the back seat, I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel relieved. I just felt empty. Mom, David's voice was concerned. Are you okay? I don't know, I said honestly. Ask me in a few years. Detective Morrison stayed behind to collect the recording equipment and go over what would happen next. That was incredibly brave, she said. And incredibly dangerous. When she stood up, when she got that look in her eye, I was about to come down. I thought she might hurt you. So did I, for a moment. But you got what we needed. A full confession. Between that, the dash cam footage, the emails, and the attempted theft, she's looking at life in prison for the murder charge alone. Life in prison. My daughter would spend the rest of her life behind bars. What about Marcus? David asked. We'll arrest him next. With Lisa's confession implicating him in the planning and conspiracy, he'll face charges too. Probably not as severe as hers, but significant. After Morrison left, David and I sat in the kitchen where, an hour ago, I'd confronted my daughter. The fake documents Lisa thought she'd won were still on the table. David asked. I don't know, I said. I've spent the last week focused on getting justice for your father, on protecting myself from Lisa. But now that it's done, I don't know what comes next. You live, David said gently. That's what Dad wanted. You read his letter. He wanted you to live fully, surrounded by people who love you. I thought about Robert's letter. About the Alaska cruise he'd booked for our 43rd anniversary. He booked a cruise. I said, December 15th he wanted me to take you and your family. David's eyes filled with tears. Then that's what we'll do. We'll take that cruise, we'll see Alaska like Dad wanted. And Mom, yes, after that you're coming to Seattle. Moving in with Sarah and me and the kids. I'm not negotiating on this. You're not staying in this house alone after everything that's happened. I looked around the kitchen. The house where Robert and I had raised our children, celebrated birthdays and holidays, built our life together. The house Lisa had wanted to sell. The house that now felt haunted by betrayal and murder. Okay, I said. Okay, I'll move to Seattle. David hugged me, and I let myself cry, really cry, for the first time since this nightmare began. I miss him so much. I sobbed. I miss your father so much. I know, Mom. I know. He tried to protect me, even knowing it would cost him his life. That's the kind of man he was. And you finished what he started. You brought Lisa to justice. You protected yourself. That's the kind of woman you are. And we sat there for a long time grieving together. Grieving not just for Robert, but for the daughter we'd lost long before the police took her away. The little girl who'd crawled into our bed during nightmares. The person we thought she was. That evening, as the sun set, I went to Robert's office. I sat in his chair and looked at the photos on his desk. Our wedding day, David and Lisa as children, family vacations, our 40th anniversary party. I did it, I said to his photograph. I finished what you started. She's going to prison, Robert. She'll pay for what she did to you. The house was quiet. Outside I could hear birds singing their evening songs. I'm going to take that cruise, I continued. David and his family are coming with me. And then I'm moving to Seattle. I can't stay here anymore. There are too many ghosts. I thought I heard his voice then, not really, just in my memory, saying what he'd always said. Wherever you are, Maggie, that's home for me. I'll carry you with me. I promised. Wherever I go, whatever I do, you'll always be with me. The photograph smiled back at me, frozen in a moment of happiness that felt like a lifetime ago. Tomorrow there would be more to do. Lawyers to meet with, trials to prepare for, a house to sell, a life to rebuild. But tonight, I just sat with my memories and my grief, and let myself feel everything, the loss, the betrayal, the anger, the love. Tomorrow, I would start living again. Tonight, I just needed to survive. 6 weeks later, I stood on the deck of a cruise ship watching Alaska's coastline slide by, and for the first time since Robert's death, I felt something close to peace. The trial date had been set for March. Lisa's lawyer had tried to get her released on bail, but Detective Morrison's evidence was too strong. The dash cam footage, the confession I'd recorded, the attempted theft, all of it painted a picture of a dangerous woman who'd already killed once and might do it again. The judge denied bail. I'd gone to see her once, in jail. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. Maybe I needed to see if there was any remorse. She'd looked terrible, pale, thin, her hair unwashed. The orange jumpsuit made her look young and vulnerable, like the daughter I remembered. But when she looked at me through the glass partition, her eyes were hard. I have nothing to say to you, she'd said. I came to tell you that I'm selling the house. David and I are dividing your father's life insurance money. Half will go into a trust for David's children's education. The other half I'm donating to an elder abuse prevention foundation in your father's name. How noble of you. You won't see a penny of it, Lisa. Not ever. Everything your father and I built, everything we worked for, it's going to help people. It's going to prevent what you tried to do to us from happening to other families. She'd laughed bitterly. You think that makes you better than me? You're just another vindictive old woman who can't let go. Maybe. But I'm a vindictive old woman who's free. You'll spend the rest of your life in a cage, Lisa. Was it worth it? Was the money worth your father's life? Worth your freedom? She didn't answer. She just stared at me with those hard, empty eyes. Marcus testified against you, I continued. Did your lawyer tell you that? He took a plea deal. He's going to testify that you planned everything, that you were the one who forced your father's car off the road, that you were the one who tried to steal from me. He's throwing you under the bus to save himself. For the first time, I saw a crack in her armor. Pain flashed across her face. He said he loved me. She whispered, he loved what you could do for him. Just like you loved what we could do for you. That's not love, Lisa, that's using people. And you're so perfect, you're so much better. No? I said quietly. I'm not perfect. But I loved your father. Really loved him. I would have died for him. And he died trying to protect me from you. That's the difference between us. I'd left then and I hadn't gone back. Harold Greenberg would handle all the legal proceedings. I didn't need to see her again until the trial, and even then, I wasn't sure I would attend. David thought I should, for closure, but I wasn't sure I needed to watch my daughter be sentenced to life in prison to find peace. Maybe peace was something I'd have to build for myself, one day at a time. The cruise was everything Robert had planned. A 2-week journey through Alaska's Inside Passage, stopping at Juneau, Skagway, Ketchikan, and Glacier Bay. He'd booked a suite with a balcony, excursions to see wildlife and glaciers, even a fancy dinner at the captain's table. David had brought his whole family, his wife Sarah, and their 2 children, Emma 10 and Jack 7. Watching my grandchildren explore the ship, their faces lit up with wonder, helped more than any therapy could have. Grandma, look. Emma grabbed my hand and pulled me to the railing. You can see whales? And there they were, a pod of orcas, their distinctive black and white markings cutting through the water. They surfaced and dove in a graceful dance, completely unbothered by our massive ship. Your grandfather would have loved this, I said, putting my arm around Emma's shoulders. Tell me about him, she said. Tell me a story about Grandpa. So I did. I told her about how Robert and I met. At a church social when we were both 19. How he'd been too shy to ask me to dance, so I'd asked him instead. How we'd dated for 3 years before he finally proposed on a hiking trail at sunset, so nervous he'd almost dropped the ring off a cliff. He sounds nice, Emma said. He was. He was the best man I ever knew. That evening, David and Sarah arranged for a babysitter so the three of us could have dinner alone, just adults. We sat at a table by the window, watching the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Mom, David said carefully, Sarah and I have been talking. When we get back, we want you to move into our house. Not just temporarily, permanently. We're going to convert the downstairs guest room and office into a suite for you. Your own space, your own bathroom. But you'd be with family. I'd been expecting this conversation. David, that's generous, but I don't want to be a burden. You're not a burden? Sarah interrupted gently. You're family. And honestly, it would be good for the kids to have you around. Especially now. They need positive role models, people who show them what real love and commitment look like. Plus, David added, I made a promise to Dad. He made me swear I'd take care of you. And I can't do that if you're halfway across the country. I thought about going back to my house. The house that held so many memories but also so much pain. The house where Lisa had plotted against us. The house where Robert and I had been happy, but where I would now be alone. Okay, I said.
Yes, I'll move to Seattle.
David's face broke into a relieved smile. Really? But I have some conditions. I pay rent. Absolutely not. I pay for my own groceries and expenses then. I'm not going to be a freeloader, and I want to volunteer somewhere, maybe at that elder abuse prevention organization. I want to help other people avoid what happened to us. Deal, David said, reaching across to squeeze my hand. Dad would be proud of you, Mom. I hope so. Later that night, I stood on my balcony watching the stars. Alaska's sky was so clear, so vast. The stars seemed close enough to touch. I thought about Robert, about 42 years of marriage, about all the moments, big and small, that had made up our life together. The first house we'd bought, a tiny 2-bedroom that needed so much work. The births of our children, the fights we'd had and made up from. The quiet evenings watching TV with our feet tangled together on the couch. The way he'd make me coffee every morning, exactly how I liked it. I thought about how he'd spent his last months investigating our daughter, gathering evidence, trying to protect me. How he'd known his life was in danger but had met with Lisa anyway, hoping against hope that she could be reasoned with. How his last words had been, I love you, Maggie. I love you too. I whispered to the stars, I'll always love you. The door to the balcony opened and David stepped out. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Too much beauty to sleep through. He stood beside me, and for a while, we just looked at the stars together. Do you think she'll ever understand what she did? David asked quietly. Lisa, I mean. Do you think she'll ever feel real remorse? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe prison will change her. Maybe one day she'll wake up and truly comprehend that she murdered her father for money she never even got. That she destroyed her family and her future for nothing. And if she does, if she apologizes, I thought about that. I honestly don't know if I could forgive her. I want to say yes, that I'm a good enough person to forgive my daughter anything. But David, when I close my eyes, I see that dash cam video. I hear a voice saying she had to choose, and she chose herself over your father. I don't know if I can ever get past that. You don't have to, David said. You don't owe her forgiveness, you don't owe her anything? She's still your sister? No, he said firmly. I had a sister once. But the person sitting in that jail cell, I don't know who that is. That's not the sister I grew up with. We stood in comfortable silence for a while longer. Then David said, Dad left something for you. I was supposed to give it to you on this trip. He gave it to me 6 months ago, made me promise. He pulled out a small box from his pocket and handed it to me. Inside was a simple silver bracelet. Engraved on it were the words, my Maggie, my always. I started crying and David held me while I sobbed. For Robert. For the future we'd been robbed of. For the daughter I'd lost long before the police took her away. He knew. I said when I could speak again. He knew something might happen to him, and he still made sure I'd have something to remember him by on this trip. He loved you so much, Mom, right up to the end. I put on the bracelet, and it felt like Robert's hand on my wrist, like he was still with me, still protecting me. The rest of the cruise passed in a blur of beauty and healing. We saw glaciers calving into the sea, their ancient ice crashing into the water with sounds like thunder. We spotted grizzly bears fishing for salmon. We walked through rainforests that felt prehistoric, untouched by time. Emma and Jack kept me busy with their endless energy and questions. They wanted to know everything. About the wildlife, about Alaska, about their grandfather. I told them stories, showed them photos on my phone, taught them how to play the card games Robert had loved. On the last day of the cruise, we visited Glacier Bay. The ship positioned itself near Marjorie Glacier, and we all stood on deck watching the massive wall of blue ice. Make a wish, Grandma, Emma said, holding my hand. What should I wish for? Something good, something happy, I thought about it. 6 weeks ago, I would have wished for Robert back. I would have wished that none of this had happened. But standing there with my son and his family around me, watching nature's timeless beauty, I realized that wasn't the right wish anymore. Wish, I said slowly, for the strength to build a new life. To honor your grandfather by living well, by being happy, by helping other people. I wish for the courage to let go of the past and embrace whatever comes next. That's a good wish, Emma said seriously. The glacier calved then, a massive chunk of ice breaking off and crashing into the bay. Everyone on the ship gasped and took photos. But I just watched, thinking about how even ancient things have to change. How nothing stays the same forever. How destruction and creation are part of the same cycle. When we returned home, no, not home. When we returned to San Francisco, I had one final task before moving to Seattle. I went to Robert's grave for the first time since the funeral. It was a cold December morning, the kind of crisp, clear day Robert had always loved. His headstone was simple granite with his name, dates, and the epitaph I'd chosen, beloved husband, father, and friend. He lived with honor and died protecting those he loved. I brought flowers, white roses, his favorite, and sat on the bench nearby. I did it, I told him. I got justice for you. Lisa's awaiting trial, and Marcus took a plea deal. They're both going to prison. Everything you documented, everything you sacrificed yourself to protect. It worked. You saved me, Robert. One last time. A breeze rustled through the trees, and I imagined it was his response. I'm moving to Seattle. David and Sarah are giving me a room in their house. I'm going to volunteer at an elder abuse prevention center. I'm going to help other people avoid what happened to us. I'm going to take your death and turn it into something meaningful. I touched the bracelet on my wrist. I'm going to live, Robert, like you wanted. I'm going to be happy again someday. I'm going to laugh with my grandchildren and make new memories and find peace. But I'll never forget you. Never stop loving you. You're woven into every part of who I am. I stayed for an hour just sitting there, feeling closer to him than I had since he died. Then I stood, kissed my fingers, and pressed them to his headstone. Goodbye, my love, until we meet again. 3 months later, I stood in a courtroom and watched my daughter be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole for 25 years. She'd been convicted on all counts: first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit fraud, elder financial abuse, and attempted theft. The judge had been harsh. This court has rarely seen such calculated cruelty, she said. You systematically planned to destroy your parents, the very people who gave you life and loved you unconditionally. You murdered your father in cold blood when he tried to stop you. The sentence of this court reflects the severity of your crimes and the danger you pose to society. Lisa hadn't looked at me once during the entire trial. Not during the testimony. Not during the verdict. Not during the sentencing. Marcus got 15 years for conspiracy and elder financial abuse. He'd testified against Lisa, describing in detail how they'd planned everything, how Lisa had confided in him after killing Robert, how they'd strategized about stealing from me. When it was over, I walked out of the courthouse with David beside me. Reporters shouted questions that we ignored. In the car, David asked, "How do you feel?" "I don't know," I said honestly. "Relieved, I guess. But also sad, so sad. Dad would be proud of you." Would he? Or would he be heartbroken that his daughter is going to prison? Both, David said. He'd be heartbroken about Lisa. But proud of you for being strong enough to do what needed to be done. That evening, I sat in my room at David's house. My room now, with my books on the shelves and my photos on the walls, and finally let myself grieve. Not just for Robert, but for Lisa too. For the daughter I'd thought I had. For the little girl who'd crawled into my bed during nightmares. For all the potential that had been wasted. Emma knocked softly on my door. "Grandma, come in." "Of course, sweetheart." As she climbed onto the bed next to me and snuggled close. "Dad said you might be sad tonight." "I am a little sad. Because of the trial." "Yes." She was quiet for a moment, then said, "At school, they taught us that everybody makes choices. Good choices and bad choices, and the bad choices have consequences. That's true. Your daughter made bad choices. That's not your fault, Grandma. You made good choices. That's why you're here with us, and she's not." Out of the mouths of babes, "You're right, Emma. Thank you for reminding me. Can I ask you something? Anything? Are you glad you moved here? To live with us?" I hugged her close. "Yes, sweetheart, I am very glad, and I meant it. Over the past 3 months, living with David's family had slowly healed something in me. The noise and chaos of children. The simple routines of family dinners and homework help and bedtime stories. The feeling of being needed, wanted, loved for exactly who I was. I'd started volunteering at the Elder Justice Center 3 days a week. I answered calls on their hotline, talking to seniors who suspected their families were stealing from them or abusing them. I helped them recognize the warning signs, connected them with resources, told them they weren't alone. Every person I helped felt like honoring Robert's memory, like making sure his death meant something. I'd also joined a grief support group for widows. It helped to talk to other women who understood the particular loneliness of losing a spouse after decades of marriage, who knew what it was like to reach for someone in the middle of the night and find empty space, who understood that grief didn't follow a timeline or a schedule, it just was. Slowly, day by day, I was building a new life. Not the life I'd planned, not the life I'd wanted, but a life nonetheless, one with meaning and purpose and love. 1 year after Robert's death, David and I visited his grave on the anniversary. We brought flowers and stood together in silence. "I miss him," David said. "So do I. Every day. Do you think it gets easier?" Les and no. The sharp edges of grief have dulled. I can think about him now without wanting to fall apart, but the missing, that stays. You just learn to carry it. Lisa sent me a letter, David said quietly. From prison. I turned to him in surprise. What did it say? She said she's sorry. That she understands now what she did was unforgivable. That she thinks about Dad every day and wishes she could take it all back. She asked if you would consider visiting her. What did you say? Nothing yet. I wanted to talk to you first. I thought about it. I don't know if I'm ready, maybe someday, but not yet. That's fair. I told her as much might be the case. Do you believe her? That she's sorry, David shrugged. I think she's sorry she got caught. Sorry she's in prison. Whether she's truly sorry for killing Dad, I honestly don't know, and I'm not sure it matters anymore. We left flowers on the grave and walked back to the car. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Robert's favorite colors. You know what Dad would want us to do right now? David asked. What? Go get ice cream. He always said ice cream made everything better. I smiled. He did say that, didn't he? So what do you say, ice cream in Dad's honor? Ice cream in Dad's honor, I agreed. We went to the little shop Robert had loved, ordered his favorite flavor, chocolate chip mint, and sat on the bench outside eating our ice cream and telling stories about him. About his terrible jokes and his love of crossword puzzles and the way he'd sing off key in the shower. And for the first time in a year, those memories didn't hurt. They just were precious pieces of a life well lived, a love well earned. As the sun set and the stars began to appear, I touched the bracelet on my wrist, the one I never took off, and sent a silent message to Robert. Wherever he was, I'm okay. I'm going to be okay. Thank you for protecting me. Thank you for giving me the strength to survive this. I'll carry you with me always, but I'm ready to start living again. To find joy again. To be happy again. Watch over me, my love, and know that you were the best part of my life. That loving you and being loved by you is worth every moment of pain that came after. Until we meet again. The stars shone brighter, and I chose to believe that was Robert's way of saying he heard me. That he understood, that he wanted me to live fully, to embrace whatever came next, to find peace. I'd spent a year fighting for justice. Now it was time to fight for something else, my own happiness, my own future, my own life. And with my son beside me, my grandchildren waiting at home, and Robert's love surrounding me like a shield, I knew I could do it. I would do it. For Robert. For myself? For all of us. The story that began with a text from a dead man ended with a living woman choosing life. Choosing hope. Choosing to believe that even after the worst betrayal, even after the deepest loss, there was still beauty to be found. Still love to be given and received. Still reasons to wake up each morning and be grateful. I wasn't the same Maggie who'd stood at Robert's funeral 6 weeks ago. I was harder in some ways, softer in others. I was wiser, sadder, but also stronger. I was a survivor. And with Robert's final gift, the truth, I had survived the unsurvivable. I had faced evil wearing my daughter's face and come out the other side. Now, I would honor my husband's memory by doing exactly what he'd wanted. I would live